Now let's look at the kind of light that is going to be used in photosynthesis. Now this is a depiction of all the electromagnetic radiation that occurs. You can see that some of it is things that you might recognize the names of, things like gamma rays, X-rays, UV, infrared, microwaves, etc. And the length, or the rays, this is of course the visible light, I forgot to mention that. And that, notice, is a very small little section of the type of electromagnetic radiation. The light and all electromagnetic radiation travels in wavelengths, and the wavelengths on this side are longer than the wavelengths, are shorter on this side and longer on this side. Wavelengths are measured, so if a light wave or electromagnetic radiation wave was occurring, so you have these peaks and troughs, so that would be a peak and that's a trough, etc. You can measure from peak to peak or trough to trough. It should be exactly the same, and that would be called the wavelength. All right, so the wavelengths up here, these numbers up here are representing the wavelengths. These are shorter over on this side, so in essence higher energy or more waves per length, and these are longer, so they are much wider apart. Now the visible is kind of right in the middle. It's kind of interesting that life is only really occurring, and that our vision is associated with, and everything is associated with this small little spectrum of light. You might know, like UV light, for example, can be damaging. X-rays are what look through your body, so they can actually travel through tissue and so forth. Radio waves are used to go around the Earth's surface and pass signals and so forth. So anyway, you have these different types of light. Now the visible light, you probably know, can be divided into the rainbow colors. That's why a rainbow exists, right? Because water droplets in the air break the visible light into its components. The purple end is the shorter wavelength side, higher energy in essence, and the other end is the red side. This is why these colors are mostly what you see as the sun goes down, because they're the last ones to disappear, all right? So if we look then at the types of light that are used in photosynthesis, we have to first look at what we call the absorption spectrum. Now the absorption spectrum is just the wavelengths of light that are absorbed by the plant pigments, and there are 4 plant pigments. The plant pigments are found in the chloroplast. Some pigments are also found elsewhere, like we talked about. The chromoplasts, for example, have carotenoids in them, which are red, orange in color. The central vacuole will have purple pigments in it. Anthocyanins, I think we mentioned that before. And anyway, the pigments that are found in the chloroplast are chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and 2 others that are grouped in the overall word of carotenoids, but they include beta-carotene and xanthophyll. So in lab, you would look at all 4 of these pigments. On this diagram, it's just showing you the carotenoids sort of lumped, all right? So what this is showing you are the wavelengths of light absorbed by the different pigments. And you can see that for chlorophyll A, it's absorbing in the purple-blue region, and it is also absorbing in the kind of orangey-red region over here. Chlorophyll B is a little more in the blue region, and it is also a little more towards the orange instead of red. And the carotenoids are in the blue region, and also they don't really absorb over here in the red. All right, so a lot of the absorption then, if I were to put it all together, is happening in the bluish purple region, right? Not very much here in the middle, which is the green yellow region, and it is happening in the orange-red region over here. So blue then, and blue, purple, and red are the main colors that are absorbed by the plant pigments, okay? So let's just think about this. Why are plants green? So things are the color they are because of the light that they reflect. So if something is absorbing the pigment, so in this case, if they're absorbing the blues and the purples and the reds, then they're gonna look green, all right? So the color that they are absorbing is not the color that they are reflecting, and therefore not the color that they appear. Now, things that are white are reflecting all the colors, because those would be all the colors that exist not divided into their components, all the colors of visible light, I mean. And something that is black is absorbing all the colors. So just so you know. Now, the other thing that you might find of interest is transmitted light is the light that is coming through something. So for example, if I were to show a light through a leaf, it's going to be kind of greenish looking light, and that is because it's transmitting the colors it doesn't absorb also. So that just so you kind of know that there could be a difference in that. All right, so overall then, we've got the absorption happening in sort of the bluish, purplish blue region and the reddish region. Okay, so now let's look at, so this is of course called the absorption spectrum, like I mentioned. Now there was a famous experiment done by a guy named Engelmann where he used algae, actually eukaryote spirogyra, that is, they had a huge chloroplast in them. And what he was doing was using bacteria that use the oxygen produced through the photosynthetic process, their activity at the different wavelengths as sort of indicator of how much photosynthesis was occurring. So in essence, this would be the photosynthetic region. All right, so what is happening here is that the photosynthesis is happening also in the blue-red region, and also happening in the, also happening in the blue region here and the red region here, which is matching the absorption spectrum. In other words, the pigments that are absorbing the wavelengths that are going to be used in the process of photosynthesis. So the action spectrum are the wavelengths of light used in photosynthesis. The absorption spectrum is the wavelengths of light that are absorbed by the plant pigments, and the relationship is direct. That is, the wavelengths of light absorbed are the wavelengths of light used.